Hey, jingity jing, it's Dominic the donkey. Jingity jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La la la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
All right, everybody, and welcome to episode 274 of the 9 Years podcast. I am Nick Draper. I am joined, as always, by the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins. And I'm delighted to say, for the first part of the show this week, we are also joined by Ollie Palmer, fresh from the fantastic 2-0 win at Accrington on Tuesday night. And Ollie, we thank you very much for giving us some of your time this evening. We understand you had a very late night last night.
Yeah.
And an early start this morning, Wednesday morning. What time did you get back, and what time were you up?
4:30, and up early enough that I feel like absolute rubbish today. Yeah, it's a long trip. It's a long trip, but it was cold, horrible weather. But the main thing is that we've got the wins, so that's all that really counts, isn't it?
It was a great win. Mark Robinson said it was our most complete performance of the season.
Yeah.
What made it so?
I think a lot of our wins, if you look at them, have come against footballing teams. We've had some good wins, some good comebacks, but I don't know. I'd be interested to know how many wins we've got from actually taking the lead and holding on to the lead as comfortable as that. In them conditions, in a game where, they were being quite direct and aggressive. And I think in some recent games, well, not recent, but I think, in a couple of games overall, we've kind of let slip of a few wins. So I think if you mix in the team that we're playing, where they are in the league, they're doing well in the league. Away in Accrington on a rainy, windy Tuesday night. I think fans would have been anxious at 1-0 and not confident that we were going to take all 3 points still at that point. So to go on and get the second goal, which is something that the gaffer's been on us about doing, is not panicking, not trying to hold on to the lead and just go and get a second and see the game out comfortably, which we did do. We needed Tans. We needed Nick. He made a fantastic save at 2-0 up. Woody also made a great goal line block, but that's what they're there for, especially Nick. And I think we saw the game out comfortably, which is what the gaffer wants us to see more of.
Yeah, definitely. I was just chatting to Nick beforehand and saying that did we win in terms of the toss before the game? Did we win the toss and decide to go with the wind, or because it felt in a way going with the wind wasn't as advantageous as it felt.
The plan was to win the toss and go with the wind, but in all honesty, we didn't win the toss, but we still managed to go with the wind. But it was that the wind wasn't even going one way towards the goal. It was going across the pitch slightly towards the goal we were going to in the first half, which helps a little bit. But people think Aki had a really good pitch. It actually wasn't.
Okay.
They had no grass. It was a lot of teams now have I've forgotten what it's called, but it's partial 4G, partial grass. A lot of clubs have it, but obviously most clubs have the grass, but Accrington Stanley didn't. So the ball was running out of play a lot because it was just flying off the wet 4G blades, and then with the wind as well. So we still found it hard in the first half, and we thought in the second half it might actually come to our benefit and the ball might hold up more, but the wind got worse. And then, as you can see, balls being cleared. Whoever it was clearing the ball, it ended up behind them. So it was just a tough night for the full 90 minutes.
We had a sort of similar scenario. I think just the weather at this time of year, you have all the conditions causing havoc. Didn't we have a similar situation against Fleetwood, I think, if I remember correctly? But again, showed the character there to come back and get in front of that one. And then we had the performance with Cheltenham as well at the weekend. So it's all the performance has really proven over the last few weeks. Have you felt a consistency in the starting 11 is helping with that?
Yeah, I think everyone at the club is learning. I think originally, maybe at the start of the season, it'd be fair to say that we wanted to try and use the squad and have a bit of rotation in there. But I think what we've realised is that you need to have consistency to pick up form. Also, you got to do enough to earn your shirt, and that happened at the start of the season. We were doing really well, and then there was a period where, I'll tell you what I said. I said to the lads, I don't think there's many of us that have actually, including myself, that have warranted the shirt, and where you can say that's my spot. I think there's probably only 2 or 3, which is not enough. And there was that dip in form for a month or 2, and we slipped down the league. But I think we've got that form back that we had at the start of the season, and everyone's playing well. I think as the front 4, we're really coming together nicely. It's not a 1 up top with me up top. It's a 4. Sometimes I'm ended up in a 10, or I'm out wide. Macca's up top, or Rudy Ayew, and we're rotating nicely and all creating chances for each other and all involved in the goals one way or another.
I was just going to say, Ollie, that I think that's what we've seen at the moment. We like Macca's playing sort of like in a more of a central role, but they can all interchange. I think last night I was listening to the Accrington Stanley commentary, and they were so impressed with our front 4, as they call it, as in interchanging.
Well, as you can understand him.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, for your own form, in terms of assist for Macca for the goal against Cheltenham, wasn't it? No, it wasn't Cheltenham. It was
Fleetwood.
I think obviously you're 6'5". Everyone's going to say big target man and stuff. But there's so much more to your game than that, isn't there? And we're seeing that lately.
Yeah, to be honest, I think we've seen it the whole time since I've been fit. It's just, I think you saw that at the last season when I was playing at the end of the season. I thought when you come to the club and you say you've got a 6-foot striker and whatever, people expect you to be a static target man, and I think that people were pleasantly surprised under last season. And although I wasn't freely scoring at the start of the season, I was playing and we were winning, and I was contributing and involved in most of the goals. Whilst I was injured in that 6 weeks, I did have a word with myself, because I think I got a little bit content the fact that we were winning, and that is the main thing. But ultimately, I'm there to score goals. So I had a word with myself and spoke to the analysis team and the coaches, and my XG for myself wasn't that high. So I knew I needed to be more of a goal threat, and I thought, when I came back, right, that's it. I'm going to be more selfish, which is what I've used to be like, and and getting more in them goal scoring positions, to get more goals myself. So now I'm scoring as well, which is great. But I still stick by, as long as the team's winning. I'm not worried about if I don't get on the score sheet. Didn't get on the score sheet last night, but I was just as happy as what I was when we beat Cheltenham or Guiseley. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, took your goal against Guiseley extremely well, I must say. But I was going to ask about goals against Cheltenham and Crewe, actually. And is poacher's instinct, is that a cliche?
Yeah, well, it was quite funny, because before the game against Cheltenham, I said I don't really score too many great goals. A lot of my goals are tap-ins in and around the box, crosses. But any goal is a good goal. I was unlucky not to score the other night. Missed that opportunity from the corner, but that should have actually been another corner. It came off Nottingham, their centre half leg. And
It was a great block.
If you ask him that, he'll tell you that as well.
We'll get him on.
I was obviously disappointed still not to score that. I still should have I don't know, maybe took another touch and then slotted it in, or took it first time. But it's what it is. Yeah, playing well, team are winning. Um, but for me last night, I didn't get on the score sheet, but the performance in that manner was a great evening to be a part of.
I was just thinking that Cheltenham goal did make me chuckle because it was like Rudy was in the way, wasn't he, for you? And he was basically just like, get out of the way, Rudy. Is that sort of, I don't know, it's just that sort of...
No, again, it's another thing. These are small details that people don't see. He actually set the ball off in that. You don't actually see it, and I do bulldozer through, but he actually sets that off. And this is where Rudy's coming a long way now. He's playing for the team. I think at the start of the season, a couple lads were worried about getting on the score sheet for their own benefit, and I understand that. They want to get goals, and that's great. But now people are playing for the team, and maybe a couple of months ago, Rudy would have tried to have held on to that ball, and we would have maybe clashed, and the ball would have spun out, and they could have broke. But he's set that off with a little deft touch, and I've kind of still gone running through and got the goal. And that's where all the young lads are improving and learning the game and playing for the team, and that's having a positive effect on their overall performances, and getting much more credit.
Stu, I was going to leave that to you to ask about a certain Crew Alexandra fan.
Oh, I was going to say that actually. Yeah. So we can tell the love between yourself and that Crew Alexandra fan behind the goal, Ollie. When you scored, have you had any contact from him? It was hilarious, and the fact, I think the thing that we enjoy with you, Ollie, the fact that you were able to have a little bit of a laugh at that. But yeah, the timing was everything, wasn't it, when she was walking past?
Yeah, she sent me a marriage proposal the other day. Actually, no, that was just part and parcel. Normally, I'd ignore it all, but because they was giving me so much stick when I was obviously had a head injury, they deserved every bit of that. So I'm not out for them since.
We very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I.
Do you need that sometimes, Ollie? Do you need that sometimes, a little bit of the away crowd not liking you, or because sometimes it can impact you, can't it, in terms of just trying to prove
No,
it
it does give me a little lift. I can't lie. I do enjoy it. It does give me. I do like playing the pantomime villain, and that is something I do thrive off. I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, I don't notice it." I do. I do quite enjoy it at times.
And moving on to last couple of questions. Boreham Wood in the next round of the FA Cup. Were you watching? So you were staying over in Bolton, I think, was that right, on the Monday night?
Yeah, no.
Were you watching the draw live?
No, we didn't. We didn't watch the game. We were actually we arrived late in Accrington. We watched the draw on the coach together, and then we got off, and it was 7:30, 8, and then we were having dinner, and actually had a great evening. Gaffer allowed us to kind of let our hair down, and that's that team spirit came out in abundance on the pitch. Got some great videos of the lads singing and jumping around, and I'll leave it there. But it was a good night, good camaraderie, and great team bonding. So we didn't watch the game, but we had a great evening in the hotel, and everyone came together nicely, and I felt like we took that spirit out onto the pitch on Tuesday night.
Any bumps for Robbo at all? Was his birthday on Monday night? Did he get the bumps, or did he have a sing-song?
Nah, he didn't get the bumps. Got a little present, which was meant to be a bit of a joke, actually. It's meant to be a bit of a private joke, and it turned out to be a present that actually everyone enjoyed, and he enjoyed himself. So it was quite nice. It was a nice evening, and it was good to get him a win on his birthday.
And we're up to Wycombe on Saturday. What are you expecting from them?
Yeah, I think last night was a great warm-up performance, really, for what we can expect. Wycombe are a direct team, very experienced team, but they've got a lot of talent within the way that they play. So I think to have a game like that last night is perfect for us. leading into Saturday, and something that we've got to take into the game and build on. Everyone's flying with confidence at the moment, so hopefully we can go on and use that little bit more experience the lads have just gained, and try and take something from the game.
Ollie, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time this morning. I know it's been a long couple of days. We'll let you go and get some rest.
Yeah,
and
I'm off to bed.
and we wish you all the best, of course, for that trip to Wickham.
Thank you. You're going to be down there?
Stu, I can't make it, unfortunately.
No, I'm not
done Adams Park.
No, Wickham's a nice little ground, to be fair, isn't it? Away journey, but just got your.
Yeah, it'd be a good game. Hopefully we'll have good support. The support
we will.
Support last night was unbelievable. Like, in freezing conditions, in the rain, Aki on a Tuesday night, the fans bouncing around like that. It was honestly incredible, and that's why we spent time with the fans after the game and bumped into them in the services, and I went on the fans coach just to say thank you. So, hopefully the support will be there in their numbers again on Saturday.
And loads of new songs being created, I see, Ollie, as well. Loads of, obviously, Nick Zanetti's
loads of songs, all the players. It gives everyone a lift, so it's great. Lads really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Well, Ollie, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to Wickham, and obviously seeing them at home to Pompey.
Perfect.
Take care.
Cheers,
Thank
Ollie.
you. Bye. Bye.
See ya. That was very kind of Ollie to give up his time, especially considering a long couple of days he's had, and long couple of days that the squad have had. But I'm taking from what he said there, especially at the end about speaking with the fans afterwards and the atmosphere and having the good evening on the Monday and everything like that. It makes it all worthwhile, isn't it? When you have times like that and a big win. Yeah,
and do you know what? The away fans, I watched a game live for last night, and the away fans are, we've done Aki, haven't we? Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Tuesday night.
Of course, Tuesday night. We've both done Aki, and it's a long journey. It's a small ground, so if it's windy and rainy, that rain is going to whip round, and that probably makes sense what Ollie was saying in terms of the wind wasn't really going in sort of like up and down, in terms of towards each goal, and that it was swirling around, because there's probably, I think we noticed it, didn't we, with the game? Was it Guiseley game? Was that a windy game? Was it Guiseley or was it?
No, I think it was Fleetwood where we spent the first half struggling with it.
And the wind just come in and then whipped around, didn't it? And it was really difficult to control. But I think what Ollie's saying there, and obviously we had a limited time with him because of course he's absolutely shattered, which I can imagine. But he was alluding there about in terms of the teams we play, in terms of what we can do, and I think why Robbo felt that win was so massive and the performance was so good is because we don't necessarily do well against long ball teams, physical teams. If you look at Fleetwood, Crewe, Pompey, we were able to press them high because they want to play football. But if they don't want to play football and want to bypass that, then we can't press, and we've got to play something different. So I think that's why Robbo probably got the most enjoyment out of that, because that is a game we potentially would have lost early in the season, maybe.
Didn't we used to have a really difficult time at Acton in terms of results? I'm trying to think of when we actually... we got a 4-3, didn't we? That was the first time we won there, the 4-3 in the midweek, the same year that we got promoted and had the playoff semi-final with them.
Yeah.
But it seemed for years we'd go to Accrington and not get anything, or even against Accrington full stop, to be honest with you. So I know that was different. I know we had a big win there last season, but it's very difficult, as we mentioned, that we had no fans in the stadiums at that point. So it sort of gets lost a little bit. But no, go on.
Just to say, it is different. When I was actually thinking about the game on Monday, I thought it would have a really difficult time because of weather was going to not be great. They're a long ball direct team, and I say long ball team is a little bit disrespectful, but they don't do whereas we like to pass and do that. They don't. They just buy something. They just get a ball forward quicker. But I was also thinking, we won 5-1 there last season, but that was behind closed doors, and it does make a difference. When you think, I actually think myself, I've got fans this time, which sounds silly, but it does make a difference. We all know that, don't we? But there wasn't many there last night. It looked a low attendance. And do you know what made me chuckle, actually? When I was listening to the Accrington commentary, they had Brett Ormeroyd as their co-host. And they were going, they were saying, they weren't being disrespectful, but they were saying, Wimbledon it's a Category C game for us. We try and make sure they're not one of the most popular teams in our league. I was like, all right, chill. I think what they mean by that is that Wimbledon, London club, not a big team, so I can understand why it's Category C, because it isn't as attractive as your Sheffield Wednesdays or your Boltons. But I was like, I don't know if we're Category C. And we actually don't have any categories, do we? We treat everyone equal.
I don't even know. To be honest with you, Category C is a little bit of a... I'm not sure how to take that. But, yeah. I mean, to be fair, if the shoe was on the other foot and Accrington were coming to visit us at Plough Lane on a Tuesday night, we'd be in a similar position. You know what I mean? We'd be like, It's like having Crewe a little while ago. It was a bit like, not the greatest or most attractive fixtures, but, I mean, hey, look, we beat them. And that's all that matters.
Yep.
At the end of the day, Brett Ormerod was Blackpool, wasn't he? Did he not play at Southampton at some point as well?
Yeah, wasn't that when they were in the when they were with the Paupers, weren't they, with the League Ones and Championships?
I'm not sure. I've got memories of Brett Ormerod playing Premier League. I'm going to Google this one whilst I ask you another question to cover for me as I Google this. And that question is, as I asked the question of Ollie there about consistency in the starting 11. We have got what is, I'm going to say, in Mark Robinson opinion, our strongest 11 from the squad that is currently available to us. Yeah. And he is maximising that, I think, by playing that 11 consistently in fixtures, which he would expect us and want us to pick up maximum points from. And I'm wondering, given the amount of games they've played, is he going to mix it up a little bit, maybe? Give some people a rest in a fixture where perhaps we're not expected to get anything on paper, famously, that cliche.
Yeah, I know you're saying it's a difficult one, isn't it? It is a difficult one because if you look at it, the team was unchanged, wasn't it, from Cheltenham? And we made no subs. There was no subs at all made on Tuesday night. Which I must admit, I didn't really clock until I think one of the stat guys, Azra, I think who does all the Opta stuff. I think said it was the first time in a couple of years we hadn't done that, which is unheard. It doesn't. Everyone uses subs nowadays, don't they? And it might be interesting to find out from Roman why he didn't. But it could be, like you say, that we might look to go in a bit different against Wickham. It's not as if we can change the team around and put more big guys in that team because we haven't got them.
No.
But what I would say is that we got a clean sheet, and it was a very rewarding clean sheet. We got a clean sheet against Lincoln, but as we can see at the moment, Lincoln look to be a team that could potentially be in trouble. They're not doing well at all, are they, at the moment? So, not saying that clean sheet doesn't mean anything, but Accrington just won 5-1 on the weekend. I think there were 7 points off the playoff places when we played them. So they're a decent team, and we got a really clean sheet. But that's with Paul Ossu and Nesta Guinness-Walker as fullbacks, and Daniel Shocker in as a centre half with Ben Hennigan. And there has been a little talk amongst fans over, if you think about the bad run we had, was a little bit down to the personnel, but actually, Paul Ossu is getting rave reviews at the moment, isn't
he? He's been consistent, very consistent since he's come in, and you'd expect Lawrence. We all thought Lawrence would be back in playing and that right back role, but no, Ossu has kept it to himself, and he's done a fine job. I can't say any more than that.
Just thinking out loud, also, when you have loan players, the clubs obviously want to get reports, don't they, and stuff like that. But if you think about it, our loans, Mabude, Presley and Lawrence, hardly involved at the moment.
No.
Which is good, because normally when you have loans, there's sometimes can be contractual stuff where you must play them. And I know before, I think some clubs have a penalty clause in there that if you don't play them in a game, then you pay more their salary. I think it's linked in with that. But it's interesting that Ossie's kept his place, and you would argue that Lawrence, you thought, would have come in. So we've obviously got a decent relationship with those clubs in saying that these players have got to earn their place, rather than just automatically going in because they're on loan from a big club.
Now I feel a rant coming on.
What set you up?
Substitutes.
Finishers.
No. Substitutes. Do you know, many years ago, Stu, so when you work in education, and I am a qualified teacher, but prior to becoming a qualified teacher, you work as a teaching assistant or a learning support assistant. And many years ago, in a school I was working in, as a teaching assistant, or as I say, as it was known, a learning support assistant, there was a conversation that it was viewed that learning support assistants don't hold the same authority as classroom teachers do. And there was a question of how this could be fixed. And one of the suggestions was to change the name of a learning support assistant to learning support teacher. And do you know what difference it had? Absolutely zero. Did not make a difference whatsoever, because at the end of the day, the learning support teacher was still a learning support assistant, was still not the classroom teacher, and the roles were completely different. Yeah. So, substitutes, whatever you call them, are substitutes. You could call them, do you know what you could say? You could call them late in the game match winners, but it wouldn't change the fact that they are still substitutes. So, aside from the fact that also, until the point comes, which I'm sure it will do one day the way we're going, not every single person that starts the game on the bench is a finisher, because not all of them are going to get on the pitch. But anyway, despite my grammatical issues with the word, the FA Cup using 9 substitutes on the bench and allowing you to use 5 is farcical. Absolutely farcical. And all this time we're talking in the background of wanting to make football more sustainable, so more lower league clubs aren't getting themselves into financial difficulties, asking for a fairer share of funds coming from the top division, things like that. Do you know what would help the smaller clubs? Is if there wasn't a pressure on them to, in a level like ours, when we've got big teams like Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, Portsmouth, all these clubs, pressure is on the smaller teams to actually keep up with them. So the more you keep saying, oh, you can have bigger squads on match days, the more pressure you're putting on the resources of the smaller clubs, in my opinion. Anyway, Saturday against Cheltenham, we essentially watched 2 different games of football, because the game, the lineups that finished the game, yes, all right, you can pick me up on that one if you wish about using the word finishing. 9 of those players did not start it. So of 20 outfield players that began the game, 9 of them did not end the game. So you essentially had 50% of the, just about. All right, do you want to get specific with the maths there? That's like 45% of the playing staff, outfield players, were different at the end. And I don't like it. And I don't actually see the need for it. I don't understand why this has become a thing. And I'd rather just go back to days. I think if you were to go back tomorrow, Stu, and you were to say back to the real old days of when I started going to watch football for the first time, and you said you're allowed 2 substitutes during a game, do you know how that totally changes and gives managers a real thing to think about? Because all of a sudden they've got to think about how best to use these 2 substitutes. When you have 5, you can do what Cheltenham did and just go, do you know what, take 3 off, bring 3 on, and change the game. And we did the same thing, but it sort of backfired for us in the finish, and we got away with it in the end thanks to Nick making great saves. But I think the tactical element of only having 2 substitutes is totally different, and you've really got to think about how best to play these hands that you've got. If you start expanding it to 5, sooner or later it will become 7. Sooner or later it will become as many as you want, and it's just not a game. There's no tactics involved in that for me.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. We've discussed this before, haven't we? I think, hey, look, do you know, if we go back to, I think when I first started going, you had 1 sub, and that was it was called actually a replacement player, I think. Or a replacement sub. I think it was along those lines. And I think it's
before I was born, of course.
Of course. And I think when football obviously started properly in 92, that's when the extra sub come in and all that sort of. I think it's evolved, isn't it? You know, you could argue that COVID gave the UEFA and FIFA the excuse to bring 5 subs in because they said that players were tired. Don't understand that. But I think it started before that. If you think about the European Championships and the World Championships, you were allowed to have your whole squad who weren't playing on your bench. That wasn't always the case in international football, was it? You know, if you go back, you know, you had many players. I think when Dave Besant was in England international, I think I was positive he got selected for a squad and didn't even get on the bench or anything like that. Whereas
wasn't he the World Cup '90, the semi-final we got to?
That's what I'm thinking. But like, you know, like nowadays, you know, you're always involved in international football. You're always involved in the squad. On the bench, you know, you might not play, but you can be selected at any point. I just think it will get like that. I think next season will be 5 subs. I wouldn't be surprised to. What's the matchday squad now? It's 18, isn't it? So yeah, effectively your whole squad will be able to play either as starting or finishing. I don't think we can get away from that. I think my issue at the moment is just the different rules in different competitions. It's just, it's crazy. Nine, and if you notice, Cheltenham didn't have 9 players on the bench; they had 7 on Saturday. So you don't have to fill your bench.
Of course not. No. But
you're right. The bigger clubs, your Sunderland, your Sheffield Wednesday, your Boltons will have. I suppose the only way, if you're going to have it, I don't think we're going to get to a stage where you won't have it. But maybe your argument about finances, etc., is that you say, I don't know, half of that needs to be academy. Do you know what I mean? If you just say that it has to be an academy graduate or something like that. But that's the only way I can think of it, because ultimately, we don't want to be paying money just for someone to sit on a bench just because we've got to fill the bench with 9. There's no point of it.
No. Although 9 is a great number, of course. 9 said podcast that we are on, of course.
But I'll just very quickly, I'll just say actually also, I said to you a little while ago, didn't I, that when the 5 subs was done last year, it effectively become 2 games. In terms of, I remember, best song I've got is Tottenham, Man U. Man U bought on Pogba, Fernandes, Rashford, and the whole game just changed. And it was as if they actually left him on the bench because they knew that. It was like going, well, remember when Neil Hardy say, right, Lyle Bayo, you run for 60 minutes, and then we're going to bring Polion on and Tom Elliott.
Yeah, or Aziz.
It's effectively the same, isn't it?
It is. I know, it's identical, but you made that reference to the Man United game, but it was the same on Saturday. It was a different game. That last 20 minutes was a completely different game to what had gone on for the 70 minutes before that.
Yeah, and it didn't make it any better, did it?
Well, we won, I suppose.
But in a way, it could have hindered us, couldn't it? Because you had 3 free players coming in who just couldn't get But the 3 players we actually removed were our match winners.
Yeah, they were.
So no, I know I have a laugh about finishers. I get it. I don't think we're going to avoid it. That's the thing. I just don't see how it doesn't happen next season.
Do you know why this happens, Stu? It's because once the gate... How many times do I say this on the podcast? And one day, I'm going to get people to realise this. I know there are many out of you that do, but I'm not sure enough of us do at this moment in time. Once that gate is opened, it does not shut. It just opens wider. Yeah. This is evident throughout history, and we're seeing it unfurling in front of our very eyes right now. But, people like to keep walking off the cliff. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that route right now.
Why do we get rid of the crowd noise? That surely should have stayed as well.
God, no. Right, you set me off on another rant here. So, what game was this? Was it Boreham Wood?
Where they were I think it was. It didn't feel authentic. Is that the word?
They're doing it. What happened? What used to happen? I'm really sorry if you're not going to want a wrestling analogy or wrestling comparison, but this is what happens. In the old days, Stu, when they used to pre-record all the wrestling, they'd add in fake crowd noise, the crowd sweetening, they'd call it, onto the televised show. And then there was a period where it went to completely live all the time, and you got to hear the actual crowd reactions as they were authentic crowd noise and stuff like that. And that's obviously much more preferable. What happened in lockdown is that they were doing live shows in front of empty arenas. So they piped in fake crowd noise to try and give it a bit of life. And now crowds are back, they've kept doing it. So even when you're watching live, they are sweetening fake crowd noise, and it's unwatchable and it's unlistenable. But I keep saying this on the podcast, and sooner or later, everyone's going to realise that I am right about this as well. This is one of those things where we just want to dehumanise everything and make everything fake and want to live in a virtual reality world. And it's super, super scary. We are headed to the Matrix. That is where we're headed to.
Which is isn't that like Matrix Reloaded coming out in the cinema as well? Not that you can go and see it.
There is in December.
We're going to wear a mask.
Anyway, I don't know if we're allowed in cinemas anymore.
And also, can I just say, for people that can hear a banging noise in the background, this is Nick. If you can see this, Nick is banging his table. That's how much.
I'm so agitated right now.
So it's not me or anything.
Stu, I've had 2 years of shit. I've had enough now.
Just very quickly though, right?
This is all coming from there.
I didn't notice the Boreham Wood. I noticed something was different, but I couldn't. I'll be truthful. I didn't realise that the sound sweetener, as you called it. I love that. I love that.
Crowd sweetening, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't really realise it until our WhatsApp group said there's fake crowd noise, and then of course, once someone's told you, you go, well, actually, yeah, this just doesn't make sense. Like, I can see the crowd, but that's not crowd. You sort of know non-league grounds. You sort of know, don't you? That sort of, I don't know. It's weird. It's just a non-league sound. It's not a pampered Premier League prawn sandwich brigade. Do you know what I mean? But are you thinking then that it's been done for other games and I've just not noticed it? Because it really was noticeable for that game.
My issue is, Stu, is that I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't watch football on TV anymore.
True.
So it's only the wrestling where I notice it, because like you see clips, and I'm not watching wrestling anymore, but you can see clips on social media and you go, okay, what's that? So they look like an interesting match they did on Monday, which I was actually piqued my interest to watch, which was Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. And I turned it on to see it, and the crowd, I was like, no, I can't deal with the crowd noise. I can't deal with the fake crowd noise. Anyway, sorry for going off on a tangent there. What should we talk about next? Lockdown? Vaccine passports, mandatory vaccinations, Christmas parties. What do you want? Lockdowns?
As we record this, we might have. Well, I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you, because I can't get stressed anymore about it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, come on. But hey, it's always good news. It's always a good day to bury bad news, isn't it? But I suppose in impact-wise, is it going to impact? We've got some big games coming up. You know, selfishly, we've got Pompey, Charlton at home. Coming up, and they're big games that we want to get big crowds for, don't we?
It won't affect us as it stands. It will only affect us when we go away to stadiums. But we've done most of the bigger ones, I think. Charlton in the league, I suppose we haven't done that yet, actually.
No.
So that might be one. Bolton away, potentially.
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday away, but I don't think
Sheffield Wednesday away, of course.
Depends how long it's going to last for, doesn't it, Nick?
Well, once it starts, it very rarely stops. But anyway, we shall see. It's not going to affect Boreham Wood in the cup. So if you get a ticket for that, by the way, good luck to you. We've got 1,250, and by what I read earlier on the Boreham Wood Twitter, it seemed to suggest, which I don't believe this is what will happen, because I'll be amazed if it is. I think they were suggesting 2 tickets per season ticket holder. I don't think that will be. I think it'll be one ticket per season ticket holder, because when you've got so few tickets on sale, I think that would be the only way to. And I think it's just a free for all.
You can only imagine that Joe Palmer and anyone involved with the club looked at that draw and thought, "Oh my days," because it's Sutton Gate all over again, isn't it? It's not a good. It's not a good situation with our ticketing system. We're not confident it works in that thing. You've then got people going, and then you've got the categories. Is it to benchers, season ticket holders, Don't Trust members? The best solution would be is for it to be selected as one of the live games, because it would then mean that
it's got no chance. No chance. I
still think it's got a little bit. There are some decent. Don't get me wrong. I think you've got Kidderminster, the lowest team in there against Reading. You've got obviously Man United's obligatory home game. There's a few on there. We might sneak in as a late one. It's 144 grand for a live game, so it's changed. I think Yeovil are at home as well to. Can't remember their home to Bournemouth, so that potentially could be.
I think that's got a good chance. Yeovil, Bournemouth got a good chance, even though Bournemouth aren't Premier League. I think it's a sort of a. I think that's got a chance, but I also think Swindon, Man City, Man U guaranteed, because it's Steven Gerrard going there as a manager for the first time.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see. We'll wait to hear. But what I will say, Stuart, 144,000 for fans of maths is a square number, so it's quite a nice little number, isn't it? It is the So 12 times 12, 144. I don't know why I said that. I'm losing the plot. It's 2 years of shit has made me lose. I've finally lost my mind.
Well, at least you've done a
Today's the day it broke.
At least you've done a mathematical equation that I could understand. Do you know what I mean? Like 12 times 12 is quite straightforward, isn't it? So I can live with that. But anyway, so it's going to be Boreham Wood Gate. That really works, doesn't it?
Sutton Gate.
Yeah.
Sutton Gate. Let's
be fair. Sutton Gate was horrible, wasn't it? It was.
I'm still waiting to find out if I've got a ticket in the ballot. I'm still waiting. I've not been told.
Could you imagine that even with our ticketing system back then? Oh dear, it was bad enough at the time, wasn't it?
Do you know what, Stu? I'm going to say this, and I'll say this only once, because I've said this millions of times before. As I say regularly on the podcast, right? It was so much easier back in the day before we had technology. And on Saturday, going into the game with Cheltenham in the FA Cup, lots of people having problems again with scanning barcodes on tickets. What happened to somebody just stood there, ripping your paper ticket, and in you go. In the same vein, if we have Boreham Wood, how about we say tickets will be on sale from Plough Lane at 9 a.m. on this date, queue up, and you can get your ticket there. And it'll be so much simpler. Instead, what's going to happen is we're going to put them online. The system's not going to be able to cope. We're going to have absolute meltdowns. The Facebook group is going to have one of those days where you just think, oh my God, people. And then it's going to be the second coming of the apocalypse all over again.
You know, you talk about tickets, by the way. Do you remember when we used to be non-league, of course, and we had those paper tickets that was so easily...
Oh, easily forged, yeah. Oh my word, yeah.
So I know you're
the amount of away fans that got in with dodgy tickets.
So I know what you're saying, but could you imagine? Yeah, you're right. The old ticket, your little stub, but we didn't even have that, and we can't go back to that. But also, let's not forget Staines in the Ryman League playoff, and we're all queuing in there. And it was supposed to be for home fans, wasn't it? But everyone in there was a Wimbledon fan. Those are the days. Those are the days. 2 tickets, home fan, yes please.
Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to say, don't worry, listeners, we won't be mentioning Stu's little stub ever again on this podcast. On that note, we're probably running out of time. So the important 20 years ago this week conversation, we'll hold it over and we'll revisit it next week because it's a good one and I want to give it some proper time. But we do have to move on. We've already spoken to Ollie about the Wickham game, but a quick score prediction, Stu?
Do you know what? I know we were just chatting before about you don't win 3 games on the trot, but I think it's not a bad time to play Wickham. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
I don't fear Wickham. I think we can give them lots of problems with our pace and if we move the ball quickly like we have been doing. So, yeah, I think we'll go there and we'll get a win. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But on that note, I think we have to wrap it up. So, Stu, thank you very much for joining me.
No problem at all.
Thanks again to Ollie Palmer for giving up time to chat to us. And thank you for listening. Alexa Bliss. Bag first, milk last, 2 + 2. It does equal 4 people, all right? Okay, I know the world we're living in has gone absolutely fucking insane, but 2 + 2 still equals 4. And we will speak to you again next Friday.